our product Strike, which was referenced in the intro, we divide Bitcoin, the asset. So this is the asset that's 21 million coins, its issuance is known, its monetary policy is defended in a distributed network of cyber hornets, as Michael Saylor likes to say. And then there's the monetary network. And the monetary network, you could do away. What if it's 22 million coins? What if it's 2.1 million coins? The network doesn't necessarily care, right? What if the monetary policy is blocks every 20 minutes instead of every 10 minutes? The monetary network achieves similar things and enhances what existing monetary networks do. And so our approach is, can we enable people to benefit from this amazing monetary network, this absolute revolution in money as a technology, without being encumbered by Bitcoin, the asset? The point is, people aren't even incentivized to spend it, right? I mean, if I just hold the thing, I get wealthier. So why would I actually use it? So there had to have been a way to build an experience for consumers that they're traditionally used to. Link your bank account, scan a QR code, hit send, but use this new novel monetary network under the hood. And so to delve into your example, that is exactly correct. If I want to send $100 to Ireland, received as euros, what the software does is it takes $100 out of my Chase debit account. It's going to convert it into Bitcoin. It's going to zip, or would you say zap, the money on the Lightning Network over an ocean, across a border, real physical value, where it will land in Ireland and interface with counterparties to give it the BTC EUR liquidity profile to switch it back into euros and credit the user. And so what's happening is we're using the most efficient monetary network on the planet to escrow physical value. We get cash finality on an open system instantly and at no cost. And then we're using this new digital bearer instrument, this new digital property in cyberspace. It's the most hardworking asset on the planet. It works 24/7. No other asset does that, and it has the liquidity profile of every currency ever. And so once we escrow the value on the network and we have this magical asset parked, then we just exchange it for the goods and services with the various counterparties that can. And so not only is that enable amazing things, but also think about like working capital costs. Like, what's TransferWise working capital costs versus a Bitcoin infrastructure set? I mean, it's the most magical, impressive thing that's happened to cross-border payments, I think. I mean, long before I was born. We plan to be in over 100 countries within this calendar year. And the first pilot that made the most sense to me was El Salvador, which ended up becoming something much larger than a beta for cross-border payments. But the thesis was, here you have a country that operates on the dollar. They don't have a nation state currency anymore. Over 20% of the country's GDP is in remittance. It's how capital is influxed into the economy. However, fees can be upwards to 50%. And there's a very important insight on that. If I send $1 million to El Salvador, is Western Union going to take 500 grand? No. Fees aren't 50% on $1 million. Fees are 50% on $10, on $100. Because there are fixed costs associated with the legacy financial system. And so not only does this monetary network allow for free and instant, but it also opens a new economy of micro cross-border payments for those that have $300 a month of income, and that they don't send $1 million back home. They send $100 back home a month. And so it made all the sense in the world to enable a cross-border micro payment economy that was free and instant. And really, I planned on improving the GDP of the country by launching my product. And so that is highly functional. We're onboarding 20,000 Salvadorans a day, seeing tremendous amount of success. And now we're going to launch in Europe. So not only did this country carry the characteristics that embodied that they needed help. They needed help from a very high level. They needed help reinstilling basic human freedoms and financial inclusion. And that the Federal Reserve's monetary expansion, the spillover, was drastically impacting the quality of life and has been for a long time there. And that over 70% of the country didn't have a bank account. And there was a serious problem with financial inclusion, which ultimately I associate under the category of basic human freedom. And so I needed to go, but there was a project, Bitcoin Beach, and they had started what is a circular Bitcoin economy for those that didn't have bank accounts. And they were plugging into this open monetary network and achieving financial inclusion through the Bitcoin network. And they deserve all the credit in the world, legends of their time. They'll be remembered forever. And so I went to El Salvador to visit that town. And I wanted to learn and ultimately launch Strike and improve on the financial inclusion and human freedom problem of the country. And so while I was there, We launched the product. I learned a lot. I met a lot of amazing people and got to really intimately feel the experience that these people were going through. And then we had a lot of success, and I got a message on behalf of the president of the country via Twitter. It was a Twitter DM, and I was at a sushi restaurant, and I didn't think twice about it. I thought it was another spammy message. I get a lot of those. And then I double take, and I noticed that it's the brother of the president. And I was like, oh God, okay, this is real. And I'm sitting with two employees. And I'm like, okay, we're either getting arrested or we're going to make history. And it was very unclear which one. Called my dad. I told him, the president, I asked for a 7-day window to see him. He said, you got 24 hours. And it's like, oh boy, okay. So, I'm going in to fight for human freedom. I believe in what I'm doing. I believe in my truth. So I called my dad. I said, I'll see you on the other side. Wish me luck. But I'm doing this for Bitcoin. I'm doing this for the betterment of humanity. And I went in there. I didn't have a suit. I went in there in a hoodie. It's all I had. And the president's brother came out in a hoodie, and we hugged, and we started to talk about rebuilding an inclusive financial infrastructure that embodies free markets, that embodies human freedoms. We talked about the design of a country we would want to live in, we would want our kids to live in, and we would want the world to eventually adapt towards. And that the United States and the European Union and a lot of the more developed world was in no position to take such a stride, and that El Salvador felt like the perfect opportunity and to be brave on behalf of humanity and human freedoms and people that needed help, and that we had an opportunity to do something amazing. And it was always about free market. It was always about, the one quote that they kept saying was, we want people to be themselves. Is that by 18 years old, you are society like enforces almost that you take on 6 figures worth of debt to pursue a degree in something that you don't know you want to do, and that you end up optimizing your life around paying back debt and then going into more debt by the form of a mortgage and things like that. And that isn't a great life, and that doesn't create a great society, because people can't be themselves and can't be free. And so they wanted to build a society that enabled freedom, and that foundation starts with hard money, with economic opportunity, and with a sound financial system that's ultimately inclusive and doesn't carry any intermediaries that can bully anybody out of anything. And that was the very ground level discussion. And then over time, we iterated on things, and we talked about everything. We talked about anime, we talked about cartoons, talked about artwork, we talked about music, and then how to use Bitcoin to solve 2 fundamental things: is protecting developing countries from the Fed spillover and their monetary expansion, and then improving on developing countries' financial inclusion and giving everyone fundamental financial access and human freedoms that they don't necessarily have when they're born today.